Today you're going to look at pictures and text and learn how to infer in that direction. Who can tell me what it means to infer when I keep talking about this? What does that mean? What am I asking you to do? To make an educated guess. Exactly. So today we're going to look at multicultural artists. We're going to learn about their stories, and we're going to use that to make some inferences about them. And to make an inference means to make an educated guess, as Paige told us. What I want you to write at the top of this sheet is that definition. Also include first, last name, date, and LA5. Okay, back together. You are writing your first and last name, LA5, and the date. And then I also want you to write the word infer, and write next to it that it means to make an educated guess. So without using Google or without using a dictionary, you're going to guess just based on what you learn in the reading and in the pictures. We are going to look at 6 artists, and I'd like you to list these on your page, and it's okay if you just write their last name. So the first one is Norman Rockwell. And then we have Georgia O'Keeffe. Frida Kahlo. Fumihiro Kato. Just write their last names here. Dane Tillman. And Nalini Milani. I love that name. Isn't it a really good name? While we are learning about them, you'll want to take some notes. That way, when it comes time for me to ask you a question that you'll need to infer something from, you'll have some information to remember to do that from. So you have all their names listed. You'll take notes along the way of something that might stand out to you. You'll see their names repeatedly throughout as well. So if you miss one, it will come back for you. The first one we're looking at is Norman Rockwell. How many of you, by show of hands, have heard of Norman Rockwell or any of his paintings? I have one. That's good. I'm glad. I want to introduce you to him. So here are some facts about him. Norman Rockwell was very prolific. That means he did a lot of different art. And produced over 4,000 original works, most of which have been either destroyed by fire or in a permanent collection. So sad. He had all these fabulous art pieces, and most of them were perished in a fire. I know, you go to all that heavy work. Rockwell is most famous for the cover illustrations of everyday life scenarios he created for the Saturday Evening Post magazine for over 4 decades. This is one of his famous paintings called The Sunset. So you can see just an everyday life scenario, right? That could happen. 2 little kids sitting on a bench. Look at the puppy. It's my favorite. 2 little kids. This is my favorite for him, The Shiner. She's smiling. She's quite proud of whatever it is she's gotten herself into for the day. Sitting outside whose office?
It looks like she has 1 tooth.
It looks like she's missing a tooth.
Looks like she got beat
But she's smiling, so it makes you wonder if she won or lost in her view. And this is one of his most infamous pieces. This was on the cover of many a magazine. What holiday are we looking at? Thanksgiving. This painting is titled Freedom from Want. Who can kind of guess what that means? Freedom from want.
I think that means that they have everything there.
Look at that table and look at all the people around it, right? There's nothing they want. They have everything they need. So, this was way before I was even born that this happened, so clearly it was really old and a long time ago. He sold a painting entitled Cubs for $662,500, and that is a lot of money now, so imagine a long time ago, that was a lot of money. And here it is. I put that on there for you Cub fans.
No.
They look so different from now.
Now they have an extra tall.
Their uniforms are different, yes.
Now they put
Okay, so here's your turn. On your paper, write Rockwell, and after that, I want you to tell me which number makes sense. Based upon what I showed you, what can you infer about him? Number one, that he created paintings about everyday life that are still very influential. Number two, that he never became famous. Or number three, he had money problems his whole life because his paintings were stolen. When you're making an inference, you need to keep in mind some things. If they flat out tell you something in the writing, that's not going to be an inference. Those are just facts you have. An inference is when you weren't really told these things about him or in his paintings, but you can definitely make the educated guess that this is true. So let's do this one together. Raise your hand if you chose number one. Raise your hand if you chose number two. Bless you. Raise your hand if you chose number three. Okay, let's go back to one. Who chose one? And Sam, why'd you choose one?
Well, the reason is it looks very realistic and it's like everyday life. It's about people.
Exactly. So he's talking about this everyday life, and you all had a feeling about the Thanksgiving one, you had a feeling about the Cubs one, so it's still influential. They're still having a profound effect. So number one is your answer. We didn't have anything that told us about him famous or not famous, so that wasn't even discussed at all. And we never really heard if he had money problems. We do know his paintings were in a fire, most of them, not stolen, but in a fire, and we don't know if that gave him money problems or not. He had already sold them at that point. Next, Frida Kahlo. Using her personal tragedies, both physical and psychological, combined with a realistic painting style, Kahlo produced images that were emotionally raw and visually disturbing. Her artistic output was dominated by self-portraits that often showed her suffering. Kahlo's interest in her own mixed German-Mexican ancestry, in conjunction with the influence of her husband's strong nationalism in his own art, meant that many of her works dealt with combined issues of national identity, her husband's looming presence as an artist in his own right, and or her role as La Mexicana, the traditional Mexican woman in white. So she kind of struggled with who she wanted to be and who she thought she had to be based on her heritage. Though not an official member of Surrealism, Kahlo's bizarre imagery, along with her linear style, was reminiscent of surrealists such as Salvador Dali. Has anyone ever heard of Salvador Dali?
I've heard of it. It sounds familiar.
So Salvador Dali, have you ever seen the painting of all the clocks that look like they're melting all around?
Yeah.
That's him. He actually has been recreated by another artist for Batman, and the bat signal on my son's t-shirt is melting all over the place. Which is
Oh, I like those.
and that's all based on Salvador Dali. Also thinking about surrealist, what that is meant is this. So you can be a realist, you paint what you see. Or you can be a surrealist, where you take what you see, but you kind of conjure up your own little dream or daydream about it and change it a little. So she's talking about how she did a little bit of surrealism, but mostly her things were not meant to be humorous or intellectual, but rather making a statement about how she felt about those movements. So, here are some of her works. This is a self-portrait. She cut all her hair off. You can see in the picture. This is her with her husband, and what is he holding? Paintbrush and art equipment, correct? She's also an artist. Is she holding that? No, because remember what she had said. He felt more important as an artist than she was led to believe, or let to be. Here's her family tree. This is as a young girl how she saw things. She saw that you grew up, get married, and have babies. Both sides of her family encouraged this. This is her as a little girl thinking of her future, that she gets married, she has babies. That's her goal in life. And both sides of her parents are tied to her, and that's what they believe. So this was the cultural belief system she grew up in. And it influenced her paintings. This is Weeping Coconuts. And this is known as the two Fridas. These are both pictures of her, but how desperately opposite she feels. In one, she can be more artistic, right? She has more colors, and her heart is healthy. It's still tied to this one, where her heart has holes and is not as healthy, and she's cutting it from her, and she's in her wedding dress, right? Yes, I'm so sorry.
Looking for Miss Thomas. Had she
I haven't seen her yet.
Because you were on his
Yeah, I haven't seen her yet.
Thank you.
So in one hand, Frida is who she wants to be, and in the other, she's who she's supposed to be. Knowing what you've heard and seen, what can you infer about Frida? That one, she had a difficult time in life. Two, she used painting as a means to heal her pain. And three, loved working with nature. Now, two of the three of those could be something you think about, and this is where you have to know. One of them was blatantly said. It was stated in what we learned about her. So that's not an inference, that's a fact. The other one would be something you could infer about what she's done. So, raise your hands. Any guesses as to what we would have for this one? Camille?
One.
Say it again.
One.
So one has had a difficult time in life. Did we learn that she had a difficult time in life? We did. So that's a fact. So what is something that we can infer that really wasn't said, but you could kind of guess it based on some things that were said and based on her pictures? Eli? Number two. Number two is use painting as a means to heal her pain. And this is what we can guess that she did. Because if she had held all those emotions in, her painting was quite emotional. If she had held all that in, imagine, poor lady, right?
She killed herself.
She might have. That would be sad. Fumihiro Kato. Let's learn about him. He is a Japanese artist. He creates his own art with a style that has very complex and meticulous techniques. That means, meticulous means right down to the smallest of details he's focused. Filled with intricate lines that are almost creating designs within designs. He's been active since the early 2000s, displaying his numerous works ranging from abstract to landscapes with his own special touch, which is described on his website as an own original painting technique which has never been used by anyone before. It goes without saying that his technique is unique, but the use of vibrant colors is evident and mixed so well with the intricacies of his artwork. Everything melds, it means it kind of goes together, into such a nice flow that you can't help but admire the finer details that create the overall picture. These are two separate pieces. So when he looks at a sunset, that's what he sees. He looks for all those details and the intricate details, and then he pulls them out and puts them in a painting. Look at the tree. That's how he would see the tree. Lots of color. Tons of color. Woman holding her baby. The neck kind of craned over looks a little creepy. But notice there's little people all around. So he could be making a big overall statement in another way, too.
Wait, where's the baby?
This is like the world and the moon, and there's a baby. So kind of depicting that this person is kind of in control of everything, right? I kind of like this one. It's reminding me of spaghetti, which I brought for lunch today, so now I'm hungry. So, knowing what you've learned and seen about Kato, what can you infer? Number one, just write his last name, Kato, and then write the number. You don't have to write out the whole thing. That he loves painting people and animals, that he paints in order to earn a living, that he likes to create detailed original works. So write Kato and then write the number that you're choosing to go along with that. Okay, we'll move on. Dane Tillman had never heard of this artist before, so that was kind of cool to find somebody new that I also liked and didn't think, ooh, okay. Let's learn about Dane. Dane Tillman is constantly taking his artwork towards new dimensions. He's gone from realism, and we've discussed what that means, incorporating his own interpretations of surrealism. So he's one who kind of takes the real and then adds a little extra to it. Over the years, Dane has established himself as one of the premier painters of African-American golf art and Negro League baseball images. In '99, Tillman baseball image was incorporated into the Baseball Hall of Fame Museum in Cooperstown. Additionally, he created a baseball mural for Turner Stadium in Atlanta and has displayed his Negro League baseball prints at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. His artwork has also appeared in Sports Illustrated, on ESPN's website, various scholastic books, and the Western Journal of Black Studies. In '89 and '95, his work was included in an exhibition of the Afro-American Historical Cultural Museum in Philadelphia. His work has even been presented to various notable individuals, including Dave Winfield, Ozzie Davis, Nelson Mandela, and Bill Cosby. Dane's art is in great demand and is available on various art products, church bulletins, ceramic mugs, church fans, you get it, right? He's bringing out the best of the African American experience. Here are a couple of his famous baseball ones. And when you look him up, he has a ton of baseball paintings. Tons of them.
So it was like baseball.
I love that he makes them disproportionate because it sort of makes me feel like I'm standing there with them. You know, when you watch on TV or even when you're at a game, the baseball players don't look that big, and then when you're next to them, you're like, wow, you get a different view.
Especially basketball players.
And especially basketball players. Football players, too.
Chris Bosh.
This is a famous blues jazz musician. Muddy Waters. Great guitarist, you can tell. So listen to him sometime. And then going to church. These were obviously things that are important to him. So, knowing what you know now, let's guess something. Is he a big fan of the MLB? That's Major League Baseball. Did he have a difficult childhood? Or was being popular important to him? So write Tillman and then write the number of the inference you think goes with him. All right, let's move on. Nalini Malani. Love saying that name. Seems like it should be a cookie. Okay. Malani's work is influenced by her experiences as a refugee in the partition of India. She places inherited and cherished cultural stereotypes under pressure. Stereotypes. Those are the things that you take a cultural group and you make assumptions about them that may or may not be true as a group. That's what it is. So she's telling you she doesn't really care for those. Her point of view is unwaveringly urban and internationalist and unsparing in its condemnation of cynical nationalism that exploits the beliefs of the masses. So if you're in Miss S or my social studies classes, we've been making political cartoons. She kind of goes those stereotypes and, you know, that whole belief that the masses follow that kind of make you go, what? Why aren't they thinking for themselves? She likes to pick on those and put them in her art. Hers is an art of excess, going beyond boundaries and into the surrounding space as you You have mural, wall drawing, installation, shadow play, mosaic projection. And I left a little section out here. But basically what she's saying is she likes to push the boundaries with her art. She likes to build in a lot of excess. That means there's probably going to be a lot going on in her art. So let's check it out. This one's called Listening to the Shades. And you can see there's a lot of different pieces going on, and you really have to spend some quality time looking through this to really try to decide what's happening in her painting. But she has people, it looks like someone is holding on to this person, someone's standing on this person, so definitely trying to make some sort of statement, probably within her cultural beliefs and cultural traditions. This one's called Living in Alice Time. Alice referring to?
Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah. So this was a tri painting. This is one painting, but it's 3 separate pieces that she put together. And if you look at them, they're slightly different. And she's making a different stand depending on which one you're looking at. It's like what, Marissa? Yeah, the spinning plates and the, yes, exactly. And then here are another couple pieces of her artwork. When you look at this one, there's a whole bunch going on, so she's definitely making a lot of statements. Over here, it's not quite as much, but you can see there's like just a head down here attached to a person. There's a cat. You see all kinds of things going on, and then as you go up, you get this gigantic person with a weapon who's kind of spinning things. And what does it look like they're standing on? Yeah. The earth, so maybe they're controlling that. And then if you go even one step further and you look up here and what appears to be this circle might be the moon, and then you see somebody sitting on that. If you think about Indian beliefs, if you know, do you know anything about their religious beliefs? Okay, they believe in multiple gods and goddesses. Depending on the situation in their life they're going through, is a different god or goddess to pray to. So in this case, who might this be?
The cat. I'm sorry.
Atlas?
The moon.
Who might be sitting on the moon, looking down, seeing how things are going?
A god.
One of the gods or goddesses, monitoring the situation. So again, she's pulling in all her beliefs. So, let's infer something about Nalini Malani. Is it number 1 that she cut ties to her heritage? Is it number 2 that she uses her past experiences for inspiration? Is it number 3 that she believes stereotyping is okay? Tracy, do you have something to add?
For the last picture we just saw, a while ago, like when I was anyway, yeah. So I was watching Netflix, and then me and my mom watched this movie called Little Prince with my little cousin, and then for how they were standing on the moon, they had their own little planet that they all lived on by themselves.
That's interesting. Yeah, so that kind of goes along with what she might be making a statement for too. Good job, Trace. So just write Malani and the number of which inference you think that she is, that you can make about her. So, here. Keep going. Okay, last artist, Georgia O'Keeffe. How many of you have heard of her? Yeah. Most people have heard of her more than any of the other ones. She incorporated techniques of other artists and was influenced by Paul Strand's use of cropping. She was one of the first artists to adapt the method of painting by rendering close-ups of uniquely American objects that were highly detailed yet abstract. So she went and looked for objects, and that made that her focus. And it wasn't like an entire scene, it was an object. O'Keeffe did not follow any specific artist movement, but experimented with abstracting motifs in nature. She worked in series, synthesizing abstraction and realism, to produce works that emphasized the primary forms of nature. She was very detailed and also focused on shape and color. Through intense observation of nature, experimentation with scale, meaning size, and nuanced use of line and color, O'Keeffe's art remained grounded in representation even while pushing at its limits. from the 40s to the 60s, her art was considered outside mainstream. So what most artists were doing, she was taking another route. So she liked to kind of be someone who colored outside the lines. She liked to be a pioneer, if you will. Here are a couple of her pictures. She had a heavy Southwest influence. She did a lot of those. And then she did a lot of focus on flowers. These were actual flowers that she found in nature and then chose to paint. Painted obviously the way she saw it. And because we have our hermit crabs here now, I wanted to get a shell in there. This is one that she did. And I thought that one was really pretty too, Meredith. So what do we know about her? What can we infer? That she works well with people, number 1. That she finds inspiration in photographs, number 2. Or that she loves to paint living things of nature, number 3. So write O'Keeffe, and then write which number of this inference you believe to be true about her. Okay, now I want you to pick your favorite. You can only choose one. So in looking at them, I'm going to give you a little preview again. Here are your 6 to choose from. Write down just the last name of your favorite artist. Knowing what you've learned about them, this is what I want you to think about. It's not just about the image itself and what you see and if you like that image, but I kind of like to make the connection to the artist too. So think about the images and the artist, where they're from, what their background is, what inspires them, and who do you make the biggest connection to? Who would be your favorite from those? Not right now.
I don't know, it's hard.
It is hard. I know. It's true.
No, that's Tiffany.
She got Rockwell, Halo, Tato. You can't barely see here. Tillman. It's there. Milani and O'Keeffe.
Did Tilton go to church or was it wrong?
Can I choose 2?
The picture of the church was Tillman.
So, can I choose 2?
Okay, you can choose one.
I have to choose
If you're from Washington School, like I can tell them, we did O'Keeffe's drawings in both of them, the skull and the flowers. We did it with oil pastels and we had to shade it on.
She did hers with water pastels. Yeah, the 5th grade, usually you get introduced to O'Keeffe. Okay, one more question for you. As your teacher, I would like you to make an inference about me. Knowing what you know about me all year long, not just today and not just this lesson, but knowing what you know about me, hearing some of the comments I made, I want you to infer who you think, and it says 4 artists, it should be 6, that was a typo. Of the 6 artists, who would be my favorite? And you also need to write a reason why. Why you think that to be true. Or I can talk about that one.
Could you go back?
Yes, I'll go back to the pictures. So write who you think my favorite artist is and why. And then you may put that in your LA5 tray when you are done.